Welcome to Shorty SuperCoach. Today we'll be having a look at the Bombers as part of our Shorty Shortlist for 2016 SuperCoach. Now we're going to have a look at the Essendon Football Club with the assumption that Asada doesn't have to be on our mind. So we're going to go with a blank canvas for them, and of course it's going to have to be a consideration for us depending on how it all goes as it continues to drag on. But today we're simply going to have a look at players as pure footballers and not taking into account of that. So first off the ranks, we have Matthew Leuenberger, who no doubt is going to be a player that's going to tear us apart throughout the pre-season and possibly has caused us a bit of pain in the past, so he might do it again. But this time around, his potential to be very, very valuable is probably as good as it's ever been, I suppose. I mean, last year he averaged 57.6, and it wasn't just because of injury. He played the 14 games. Stefan Martin had arguably his best year. Well, it was his best year for the Lions, and there wasn't really a spot. Leuenberger likes to be the sole ruck, and unfortunately he was continually battling with Martin. They were playing him forward at times because, look, in recent years, 2012 averaged 70 from just 3 games, injury, 66 in 14, just the 5 games. So in the past it's been injury that's been the concern, and we can sit here and say, well, we know he can score points, can he get on the park? And I think that statement still reigns true because he didn't get the pure opportunity at the Lions as he would have liked. Hence, he finds himself at the Bombers. So, on a positive sign for Leuenberger, 2011, I know we're going a bit back there, but 102.2 average from the 22 games and 97 in 2013. And I think he's shown that he can take the odd mark. He can certainly find a lot of ball around the ground, which is what he does well, and he's a fairly handy tap ruckman. So they're the pluses for him, and obviously the price tag is what's going to be pretty tasty for him in 2016. Can he get that number 1 ruck role? Well, I feel he should, and I think he will. He's up against Bell Chambers, who had that chance last year as well and failed to grasp it. McKernan got a crack, battled hard, but he's not a ruckman. So I feel if Leuenberger can have a pretty good pre-season on the track, get his body right, I think he should be in for a pretty good year. Will he average 90 plus like he has in those other years I mentioned? Maybe. He might be around the mark, but look, if he can, do anywhere from over 85, I'm sure you pick him at that price. You know what you're going to get. As long as he can stay on the park, it's going to be value for money. But will he be a keeper? It's probably doubtful, but he can certainly be a guy that can put in your side. Cheap as chips early. You don't have to worry about him too much because he's scoring good enough points, going up in value. You can deal with him when you need to. But I think he should be a safe pick, but it's all about the body for him because he's going to get opportunity if he's good enough, but he has had a lot of leg, knee problems in the past. So that is the obvious concern, which everyone knows. Another man who's struggled a bit with his body in the past is Jobe Watson. In particular, just of late, he used to be quite durable, but only managed the 12 games last year. Had a shoulder injury, which ended his year, and in 2014 he only played the 14 games, and I'm pretty sure he was struggling with quite a few hamstring injuries back there. But look, it really dropped away for Jobe last year. He really struggled to, I guess, deal with the responsibility, and not the responsibility, but the pressure that just kept mounting on the Essendon Football Club, and he carried on his shoulders for so long. No pun intended that he had a shoulder injury, but I think the fact was that it just got a bit too much for him. The injury happened, and at the time there was a lot of commentary that it might be a good thing for him. There's a lot of commentary about will he keep the captaincy, should he go overseas like he did, all that. But look, fresh season, let's hope that he doesn't have all that pressure weighing on him as he has in the past. Hopefully he comes back a refreshed man because he can still score points, and that's what we want to know. First 7 rounds of 2015, he averaged 105.8, lowest score of 91. But I think, as the season went on, and how it went for the Bombers, we all know what happened there. He sunk as the rest of the Bombers did. So, of course, the injuries are a bit of a concern because he's 31 years of age now. Maybe another thing you might want to look into is, can he average above that 110 mark? I speak of that a bit in our midfield, and for good reason. In 2014, he averaged 106.9, which you certainly don't sneeze at, but I think 105.8 that I just mentioned there, they're very nice numbers, but we probably want to be greedy in the midfield. We want, if we can, to pick guys who are going to average around that 110 mark, if not touch over, touch under. So I think there are a few question marks. He's certainly not going to get any better at 31, but he's pretty reliable when he's on the park with a free rein. So Heppell's improved as well, which will take a bit of pressure off him in the midfield. So someone to consider. I doubt he'll be too popular at this stage, but someone to consider. Now, a man I'll definitely be considering is Michael Hibberd. He's one of my favourites. He's frustrating at times, but I think at this time he's at a reasonable price. Averaged 82.1 last year. So, look, you look into that and you go, well, why did he average 82.1? Because he was coming off 91.4, 95.9 in 2013, which was his breakout year. And when you look into numbers like that, you want to see a reason why they dropped off, because then we can say, well, look, if he gets back to this, he will be a good pick again. And as I delved through it, the only real thing I could see was that he averaged 3 less kicks a game and his efficiency was ever so slightly down. But he is a man who relies on his kicking and run and carry to score points and hitting those targets, because his contested possession is pretty poor and he certainly doesn't tackle much at all. So he is your typical rebound from defence player. The positives are the Bombers like to go through him. He is a lovely kick. At times he was found out with no right boot at times, so that's a concern, and sides were onto him a bit. That's something that he's going to have to counter. But I think possibly his average just dropped away from maybe a couple of less effective kicks per game. And, you know, there's whatever it is, 8 points, and all of a sudden he's averaging that 90 mark again. He obviously suffered from everything that was happening at the Bombers. I mean, everyone did. But I think this year he should hopefully bounce back to more that mid-90 average that we expect. He's right on my radar at the moment because as a defender who plays an offensive role, that's very valuable. We get our defender midfielders, of course. We'll pick them, your likes of McVeigh, etc. But you got to look at these guys, because I can't take myself to just spend absolute top dollar on, say, a Heath Shaw. I had him last year. I loved him. Just had to rely on him week in, week out. He delivered. Can I pay top dollar for a defender? I'm not sure I can. So you got to look at the guys like Hibberd. Birchall is in a similar reign and plays a similar role. So I think if you like what you're seeing from Hibberd through pre-season, etc., and he's playing that role that he has, I think he's certainly capable of playing that 90 average role. Maybe he just had a poorer season. Everyone has their fluctuations, especially in defence. So I would be backing him in because he plays that role that SuperCoach people love, especially when you're picking defenders. So he's a man I certainly think you should look at. Now, they're the main three. A couple of guys that I'll touch on. Mitch Brown, obviously the former Cat, went away, played VFL, been drafted. You would think he's very likely, if he puts in a good pre-season, to play plenty of matches for the Bombers. I think it's likely because he's always missed his opportunity, whether it be in the forward line, down in defence. But he may have matured now, seems to have found his role as more an intercept marker. He's never going to take on the monsters and gorillas of the forward line. But I think Brown, given opportunity, will be a bargain basement pick, and someone, you know, those mature age rookie guys, we love them, we can rely on them. You'd be picking him if he lines up round 1. A couple other youngsters, Parrish and Francis, obviously in the top 5 draft picks of last draft there. I wouldn't be looking at them too closely. I think they'll both play plenty of footy and be given opportunities, of course, but I think the fact that they are young, they're going to be more expensive than other guys like a Mitch Brown that you can pick up. You probably wouldn't be looking at them too closely unless they set the world on fire. David Myers is the final one I'll just touch on. He's a really interesting one. You know, will you pick him? Probably not, because he falls in that awkward midfield price range. He'll be much, much cheaper than he probably should be. In 2014, averaged 85.6. If you take out his vested game in round 12, where he only played a third of the game, 2014 average bumps up to 89. That's pretty handy, especially for a guy that we're going to get an average of 39 from just 2 games. So he's down on average because he scored 1 with a shoulder injury in round 1. Came back, scored 77 against the Crows in what was a horror performance for the Bombers, and he even got injured there. So I'll probably just scared you off by, you know, his last 2 games. He's hobbled off the ground with some sort of injury, so it's probably enough to scare you off, considering he's not going to be bargain basement price. But he's someone you might look at in a draft or something like that, because he is well undervalued, and given the right opportunity in the midfield, if required, he could average around that 85-90 mark. So that's a wrap-up of the Bombers, and if you're not aware of this sort of preview that I do, it's obviously not touching on absolutely every player in the absolute guns, because, you know, any monkey can tell you that Dyson Heppell is going to be pretty reliable and keep improving. I can tell you that all day long. It's nothing you don't really know. Brendan Goddard, he'll probably be as consistent as ever, average around that 100 mark. You guys know that. Until pre-season really gets rolling, and we really get into our structures and just absolutely dissecting each and every position, that's when you'll certainly be looking at, every guy in that elite category. But for now, it's early days. We're just having a look at players that have a bit of value, have a bit of discount attached to them, potentially could break out and really, up their average like Hibberd. Will they be back like Watson? And Leuenberg offers absolute value for money. So a few guys to think about. Certainly lots more previews coming your way, and check out my past videos that I've done. Certainly give the video a bit of a like, comment if you've got any ideas or any comments on what I've been talking about, and give the channel a subscribe because there'll be plenty of SuperCoach content coming your way in 2016 and beyond. So certainly hit all those buttons and I'll be back soon. Catch you guys.